Hello everyone, I am Prahalad and this is 7th grade math with Alston. Today's topic is the number system, and we will be adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing rational numbers while understanding some real-world applications of them. If you are already familiar with our video structure, feel free to skip to the first question using the timestamp. If you aren't, remember that all of our videos have 8 to 15 review questions with a step-by-step solution to each one. If you answer a question correctly, feel free to skip to the next question using the timestamp. If you answered a question incorrectly, stick around to watch the solution. Also, if you think you need some help even after watching the video, we have a links for further reference page in the description box. Here you can find review problems and solutions that are similar to each question we cover in the video. Now that we have gone over all that, let's get started with the first practice problem. So the first practice question says, what is 3.5 plus, in parentheses, negative 1 over 2? So now you can pause the video and try to solve this question yourself. Once you're ready to see the answer and the solution, press play. Okay, the correct answer to this question is 3. To solve this question, we can first write out the problem. 3.5 plus, open parentheses, negative 1 over 2. So first we need to remove the parentheses, and we have a plus sign before it and a minus sign inside the parentheses. A plus and a minus can just become a negative sign, so we get 3.5 minus 1 over 2. And to fully solve this problem, we need to convert both into the same form. So we're going to convert negative 1 over 2 to a decimal. So negative 1 over 2 just equals negative 0.5. So here we're going to put equals 3.5 minus 0.5. And this is just 3. So that's our final answer. Okay, so this is the second practice question, and it's quite similar to the first one. It says, what is negative 54.45 minus, open parentheses, negative 45? So you guys can pause the video and solve this problem on your own. When you're ready to see the answer, you can press play. Okay, so the correct answer to this problem is negative 9.45. So I'm going to start out by writing out the problem. And we see that we have a negative before and inside the parentheses. So this can help us remove the parentheses. Both of these negatives are going to make a positive. So we're going to get negative 54.45 plus 45 because of those two negatives. And I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this as 45 minus 54.45 because that makes it easier for us to compute. And we're allowed to switch the order of the numbers as long as we keep the signs the same. So we're going to have to subtract this as 45.00 minus 54.45. And using this method actually won't work to subtract these two numbers, but we know that the answer to this question is gonna have to be negative because we're subtracting a larger number, which is 54.45, from the smaller number, which is 45, right? So this means our answer is gonna have to be negative. And now we're gonna just find the difference between these two numbers. So we're gonna do 54.45 minus 45.00. And we're going to put a negative sign before our answer because we know the answer to this is going to have to be negative. And now we're just going to normally subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 4 minus 0 is 4. And going to have to carry over. 4. 14 minus 5 is 9. And we get negative 9.45. So that's our final answer. Alright, so the third practice question says 4 3/4 plus 3.5. So you can try to solve this problem on your own right now, and when you're ready to see the answer, you can play the video. Okay, the correct answer to this problem is 8 and 1/4. So there's two ways of doing this problem. The first way is going to be just to add them like fractions, and the second way is to convert them to decimals and then get a decimal answer. So in this case, I think it would actually be easier to convert both of them to decimals and get a decimal answer, so that's what we're going to do. First, we need to convert 4 3/4 to a decimal. So 4/3/4. So when we convert it to a decimal, we know that the 4 is going to be the whole number. So we're going to get 4 point, and then 3/4 is the decimal component. So 3/4 is just 0.75, as you should know. And now so we get 4.75, 4.75, and then we have 3.5. So 3 is the whole number component, and then decimal component is 1/2, which is 0.50. We're going to leave the 0 there as well, and we're going to get 4.75 plus 3.50. And I'm going to go ahead and add these values over here. 4.75 plus 3.50. 5 plus 0 is 5, 7 plus 5 is 12, and 1 plus 4 plus 3 is 8. So we get 8.25. And because the question was presented in fraction form, we're going to also want to convert this to a fraction. So 8.25 equals, we know it, if we're going to present it as a mixed number, we're going to get 8, and then 0.25 in simplest fraction form is 1/4. So this gives us our final answer of 8 and 1/4. And the fourth practice problem has two parts. The first one says -5 times in parentheses -5, and the second part says -6 times in parentheses 7. So you can solve both these parts by yourself, and when you're ready to see the answers, you can play the video again. Okay, so the answer to part A was 25, and the answer to part B was -42. So both of these are just simple multiplication problems. The first one is -5 times -5, and we already know that since we are multiplying two negatives by each other, we're going to have a positive, and 5 times 5 is just 25. So that's the answer to part A. And then B, we have -6 times 7. Here we have just one negative, so that's going to mean our answer is negative. And then we can multiply 6 times 7 and we get 42. So those are going to be our answers. Okay, so practice question 5 also has two parts. The first one says 24 over in parentheses -6, and the second one says 1/2 divided by in parentheses -1/4. So you guys can pause the video and solve this one by yourselves, and when you're ready to see the answer, you can play the video. Okay, the correct answer to this problem is for part A, the answer was -4, and for part B, the answer was -2. So I'm going to start off with part A. We have 24 over -6. And since we have just one negative in the fraction, we can just put a negative sign at the beginning because we know our answer is going to be negative, and then we can do 24 over 6, which is just 4. That's our answer to part A. And then for part B, we have, I'm going to go ahead and move it up here, 1 over 2 divided by -1 over 4. So now we need to remove the parentheses, and so that we don't have two operators next to each other, I'm going to put the negative into the numerator of -1 over 4. So I'm going to do 1 over 2 divided by, and then I'm going to put -1 over 4. So that makes it look better. And then now we can just do normal fraction division. Remember, we need to take the reciprocal or switch the numerator and denominator of the divisor. So we're gonna, and then we can change it to multiplication. So 1 over 2 multiplied by and 4 over -1. Now this is just normal multiplication. We can do 1 times 4 is 4 over 2 times -1 is -2. And then 4 over -2 is just -2. So that's our answer to part B, -2. Okay, so practice question 6 says, name two fractions equivalent to 7 over 3. Answers may vary. So now you can pause the video and attempt this question on your own, and when you're ready to see some sample answers, you can press play. Okay, so some sample answers that you could have given are 14 over 6 and -7 over 3. So the first thing I did is I made 7 over 3 less simplified. I did this by multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by 2, and this gave me an equivalent fraction of 14 over 6. Obviously, you could have kept doing this and gotten another answer. For example, you could have multiplied it by 2 one more time, which is something you guys might have done, and that would have given you 28 over 12, which are both also acceptable answers right here and right here. And then also remember, when you're dividing two negatives, you can it's equal to just the positive. So if you're doing -7 over -3, it's going to be equal to 7 over 3, which is why I also had the example answer of -7 over 3. So there could be many different answers, and but these are the three that I came up with. Okay, so practice question 7 says, what is in parentheses -2 times in parentheses -10 times in parentheses 5? So you guys can again pause the video and solve this question by yourself, and when you're ready to see the answer, play the video. Okay, so the correct answer to this problem is 100. So we have -2 times -10 times 5. So we can just multiply these numbers one by one. So first we're going to do -2 times -10. Since we have two negatives, that's going to be a positive value, and 2 times 10 is just 20. So we get 20, and then we still have the 5, so we get 20 times 5. And then 20 times 5, we can multiply that out over here. 20 times 5, 0 times 5 is 0, and 2 times 5 is 10. So 20 times 5 equals 100, and that's our final answer. Okay, so this is the final practice problem, and it's a word problem. It says John and Billy mow lawns. Their profit for the month is $540. Billy worked for 10 hours and John worked for 5 hours. How should they divide the money based on how much time they worked? So you guys can attempt this problem by yourself, and again, when you're ready to see the answer, you can play the video again. Okay, the correct answer to this is Billy should earn $360 and John should earn $180. So I started off by getting the total hours worked. So it says Billy worked for 10 hours and John worked for 5 hours, and the total they earned is $540. So they totally worked 15 hours, and this got them $540. So how many hours did Billy and John work? This is when we're gonna end up dividing the money. So Billy worked for 10 hours. So that's 10 over 15 hours. 10 over 15. So that's out of the 15 total hours, he worked 10. And then we can multiply that by 540 so that we know what portion of the money that Billy is getting. So right now we can put a B next to that. And so that equals, we can first start off by simplifying this fraction to make it easier. 10 over 15 is just going to be 2 over 3. So 2 over 3 times 540 over 1. So 2 times 540 is going to be 1080. And the 3 times 1 is just going to be 3. So we're going to do 1080 over 3. I guess we could use long division for that. Divided by 3. 3 goes into 10 3 times, and 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. 18, and then 3 goes into 18 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. 0. 3 goes into 0 0 times, so we get 0. 0 times 3 is, again, 0. 0 minus 0 is 0, so we get a remainder of 0, and our answer is 360. So that's just for Billy. He gets $360. So that's how much Billy gets. And then for John, we can do the same thing. We're going to have to do 5 over 15 this time, times 540 over 1. This is for John. So 5 over 15 simplifies to 1 over 3. Get 1 over 3 times 540 over 1. This is equal to 540 over 3. And I'm going to do the long division over to the side. 540 over 3. 3 goes into 5 1 times. 1 times 5 is 3. 3 goes into 24 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. We get 0. We bring down 0, and 3 goes into 0 0 times. So we get 180 again. So 540 over 3 is 180. So here we have John earns $180 and Billy earns $360. Those are our final answers. Thank you for watching, and hopefully that was a good review of the number system. Remember, if you need a bit of extra practice, look in the description box for links for further reference. Finally, if you liked the video and would like to see more of them, remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.